Hey folks, so this is the first video in a series talking about lines, linear equations, linear functions. And in this video, what I'd like to do is review a graph. There are some important points on a graph, and I want to talk a little bit about how we label a point, just so that we all are talking about the same thing. So what we have here is a graph. It's a fairly basic graph, and it just has some lines going up and down and some lines going side to side. There are three really important things to notice about this. See this bold line down here? This is our x-axis. It has a little x label on it. The x-axis always goes side to side. And see this bold line here that's going up and down? This is our y-axis. Our y is always going up and down. And here we have like going up by 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Here are some negative numbers. This is like a number line, right? And then this is like a number line, but going up and down. The other thing to notice on this graph is the point where our y-axis and our x-axis cross right here. This is the origin. You know the word like original or originate? Like that's like a starting point, right? The original series was the first series. It's what started everything. And so this point here, where our x-axis and our y-axis cross, is the origin. Let's write that a little clearer for you. Origin. There we go. And that's right here. And that's where x is 0, right? We haven't moved anywhere. We see that it's 0. If we were just looking at this number line, it's 0. And if we were just looking at this number line, it's 0. And we write it 0, 0. So let's talk a little bit about why we write it 0, 0. Any point that we put on our graph, we have to name. And when we name a point, it gets a first name and a last name, just like you have a first name and a last name. And the first name is the x value, how many we have to go side to side to get to that point. And then the second name is how many we have to go up and down to get to that point, the y value. So our point, to name a point, we always have an x value and then a y value. And that's how we name our points. So for example, let's say that we had a point that was right here. Let's call this A. And we wanted to name our point A. Okay, so A is, well, how many, we start at the origin, and how many over do we have to go? 1, 2. So the first name of this point is 2. And the second name, how many we have to go up? 4. Okay, so point A is 2, 4. We could also have some negatives. I'm going to erase where I wrote origin so that I can put a point there as well. So let's look at another point. Let's put a point here. And let's call it B. So we start at the origin. The first name for B is how many we have to go left or right, how many we have to go sideways. So from the origin, we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And see when I moved left, these numbers became -1, -2, -3, -4. So when we move left, our x is negative, so -4. And then we have to go up 3. So y is still positive. If we had a point that was down here, let's maybe put it here, let's call this C. Then C, if we start at the origin, we have to go 2 to the left, so it becomes -2. And then we have to go down 5. When we go down, it's negative. If we go up, it's positive. So this becomes -5. And then let's do one last point. Let's put a point here. And let's call this point D. So for D, The x, we start at the origin, we move right 4, so it's a positive 4, and then we have to go down 2, so it's a negative 2. So we always have our x first and then our y. So let's practice this a little bit. Okay, so this is what we just talked about. We name our points, first name, last name, x first, then y. And this summarizes if we go to the right, it's positive, to the left, it's negative, up is positive, down is negative. So let's put these points onto our graph, kind of the opposite of what we were just doing. So A is 2, 5, means I have to go over 2 and up 5. These are both positive numbers. So I go from the origin, I go 2, and then up 5. And we call that A. B is 0, negative 3. Well, what the 0 means is that we don't go over sideways at all, right? We start at the origin, we move 0, so we don't move. And then negative 3 is the y, so up or down, it's negative, so we're going down. So this is point B, 0, negative 3. Point C, our x is negative 3, so we start at the origin, we go left 3, and then our y is 2, so we go up 2. D, 4, 0, means we start at the origin, we go 4, and then 0, we don't go up or down at all. So we stay right on that line. There's D. E, negative 1, negative 4. We start at the origin, we go sideways first, negative 1, and then up or down. It's negative, so we're going down. We'll put a dot here, E, and then finally 3, negative 2. Start at the origin, go sideways 3, we're moving to the right because it's positive, and then down because it's negative, and down 2. So that's point F. So here are all the points that correspond to these ordered pairs.